This is Metabolic Mastery, a core medical technologies podcast dedicated to advancing knowledge and practice in metabolic testing. Welcome to Metabolic Mastery. I'm Dr. Mark Humbert. This is Dr. Cameron Garber, and we have got a special guest with us today, Parker Spencer. We're so excited to have him. We've actually been looking forward to this conversation for a while. So he is in charge of USA Triathlon's Olympic development team. He's got his master's in exercise science and coaching and exercise science. Has had 100 podiums so far, which we'll talk about, dive into. Super excited to get into that. ACSM certified exercise physiologist, and he is a PhD candidate in exercise science. We're going to dive into that too. Exciting to talk about his area of research. This is going to be a great conversation. We're super excited. All right, so just to get started, tell us a little bit about how you got where you are. We were talking beforehand about kind of that process and your rationale for getting where you are today. Like, what got you? Like, what were you doing as an athlete growing up, and then how did you find yourself in this career?
Yeah, so I think I did 6 different sports in high school and was terrible at all of them until I started running. And went and ran Division I for Liberty University.
Nice.
And while I was there one summer, I jumped into a triathlon and realized that I liked that a lot more than just running. I'm kind of the classic triathlete. I got into triathlon because I got hurt running, and got on a bike and realized I really liked riding a bike, and then got my elite license in triathlon back in 2010-ish, I think it was, and then realized that I would probably be a pretty mediocre pro triathlete, just coming from swimming a little bit later in life. And I knew that this was what I wanted my career to be in. At the time, I was political science, planning on going into law school. And then I went home my junior year and told my parents I was going to drop out of that major, and I wanted to be a triathlon coach.
How did that go?
Is there any money in that? How are you gonna?
What is this career?
And so, my parents were very supportive,
That's good.
but it was a funny conversation. I remember being super overwhelmed by it, and I was already a semester in my junior year.
Oh, wow.
And so I was going to add some years to school, and this was just what I was passionate about. I really liked understanding how the body worked and how what you were doing in training, like the impact that it had on the running times and everything else that I was doing. And once I saw that being a pro athlete probably wasn't going to pay the bills, and I wanted to have a family, I really dove straight into coaching at 20 years old, and thought most of the triathlon coaches that I knew, they had gotten into the sport as second or third career. And if I got into it at 20, hopefully by the end of my career, I'd accomplish something. And then what I get to do today is, I get to recruit 17-year-olds into the sport. Most of them have a little bit of triathlon background, but a lot of it's trying to find a little bit of someone that has all the ingredients to being a great triathlete, and then helping develop them into an Olympic medalist. And coaches had the biggest impact on my life. And at this age group, these guys are still trying to figure out who they are in life.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And so my focus is really helping develop them as people first, and then athletes second. And then what I found is when I do that, they're a better athlete for it in the end.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about developing them as people first. I know that you use like the Clifton Strengths Finder, which is actually really funny. I actually just took that for the first time the other day, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
I went through that with a friend, and it was just wild to see like how well that kind of captured me.
Yeah.
I always have kind of a little test like that.
Yeah.
Always kind of like a BS meter goes off for me.
Totally.
But that one I found was actually like really effective.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're spot on in that one. I do that.
Yeah.
You even had your girlfriend take it.
I
right?
did, yeah. I was like, you have to take this.
Yep, I made my wife take it.
Awesome.
It leads to really interesting conversations.
Yeah, totally. Well, one of the things that I learned pretty early on is I'm trying to take 10 guys that all have the same goal. They all want to win a medal in the Olympics. At the time, we put them all in a 5-bedroom house, and they got to learn how to live together, train together, travel the world together.
And you haven't turned this into a reality TV show.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a Netflix thing someday.
There you go.
Yeah, but we've got, what I saw was just so many different personalities. And I mean, even when I was in college, you walk into a dorm room and there's a poster on the wall. That's the only thing on the wall, the only decoration, and it says how to deal with conflict with your roommate. So it's just like the more you spend time with people, there's just going to be conflict.
Sure.
And one reason we started using Clifton Strengths was understanding who to pair as roommates, who to pair on trips together. Like if one kid is super organized, got like the first thing he does when he goes in the hotel room is unpack his bag and fold his clothes and all that. Yeah.
I do that, yeah.
And then you got another kid that you just walk in and it's a bomb inside the room, like just stuff thrown everywhere. Those kids thrive together, and then the organized kids thrive together. And so it's, and then also from a coach-athlete relationship, I've learned that I've got to adapt to the athlete. Like my job is to bring out performance. And growing up, I had coaches that if I really wanted to get the most out of that relationship, I had to adapt to them. Mm-hmm. And it really should be the opposite. And so the conversations that I have, the way that I talk to them, the way I give them feedback, a lot of it's based off what we've gotten from Clifton Strengths.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, I love to hear that.
So how did you know, I mean, obviously just, I'm sure being a teammate yourself, observing people, but this sounds kind of like a totally different way to approach coaching, a totally different way to develop these types of relationships. Like, how did you kind of develop that view of that process?
Well, when I think back at one of my college coaches, like I feel like that guy had the biggest impact on my life with anybody. And I really want my athletes 10, 15, 20 years from now to think the same thing about their time with me. And what that made me realize is like the things that I bring into my career now are a lot of things that I learned on the track, like in the grind, like pushing yourself, doing something really uncomfortable every day. And I get to see these guys at their best, and I get to see them at their worst.
Yeah.
And one of my guys, about a month ago, we're in Colombia. He's frustrated because like just things keep going bad in races, and he got a flat tire pretty early in on the bike and was in a decent position. And I was sitting on the side of the road in this rural part of Colombia, like trying to make him feel better and be like, oh, this is just part of the sport. And then his very next race, it was his first elite win.
Oh,
and it's
awesome.
like, I wish that I could have told him, sitting on the side of the road, dude, just hang in there for one more month and you're going to win the next one. But that also kind of defeats the purpose of him needing to get back on the plane, come back here to Utah, and then continue to put in the hard work and believe in himself.
Yeah.
And
try that much harder because of a failure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's I'm fortunate with the job I get to do, and I do. I've come to like these guys feel like family, and then you do get it, like watching him succeed. It's like, man, like this is a kid that a year and a half ago had never really done a swim workout before.
Wow.
And now he's winning elite triathlons.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like an ownership over him, like they're your kids, kind of?
Yeah, definitely. For better or worse.
Right.
Well, yeah. One of the moms was texting me about something with one of the boys the other day, and he like without going too much into it, he just there was a thing on his to-do list he didn't get done. And then I was like, I'll call him right now. And I text her back and I said, he's the son I'll never have. Because I've got two little girls. And my wife is like, we're done. So she's like, you got 12 boys.
You get plenty of that. So, yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So Tell us more about Project Podium, right?
Yeah.
About this process of developing these young men into
Yeah.
pros, basically.
Right.
Like, how did that get started? How did you get involved with that?
Yep.
And kind of what's the future of where you're taking that?
Yeah. So historically in triathlon, the first Olympics it was in 2000, and we've had 3 female individual medalists in triathlon. There's also a mixed relay, and we've got 2 medals in that as well. But we've had no male win an individual medal in the sport. We tried a bunch of different approaches to recruitment and development with athletes, and one of them was called the Collegiate Recruitment Program. And we would look for athletes that had a swim background from high school, but were a really successful college runner, and then teach them how to bike. That worked really well for the women, and hasn't quite well worked for the men. And one of the things we thought is probably we got to work on the men a lot earlier. And so instead of waiting for them to get through these 4 years of college, a lot of times athletes do a 5th year. They miss out on 4 or 5 years of like key to development. And what we've seen in the sport is you can't just be a great runner and win anymore. You've got to be a world-class swimmer, you got to be a world-class cyclist, and then you've got to be one of the best runners in the world. And
do you think that's specific to that distance? The Olympic distance is?
I think it's changing all around. You're getting long course. What's happening is like the guys who want to retire from short course are going on to long course, and then you've got guys like Christian Blumenfeld who won the gold medal in Tokyo, and then he went on to win the Ironman World Championship soon after, and then his another Norwegian, Gustav Iden, did the same thing, and he started as a short course guy.
Oh, interesting.
And so you can't really have a weakness anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a cool part of the sport. It's really developing a lot. Technology, what we understand from what we'll talk about here with exercise science, has come a long way. And so with Project Podium, I find them when they're 17, recruit them into the sport. Some of them already have a triathlon background, some don't. And what I've found is like, I don't want to just recruit someone who has the exact same skill set. Everyone was basically the same athlete at one point. Like they had very similar times between the 3 sports, and it didn't help the group really progress as much as finding someone who's an exceptional swimmer and decent at the other 2, and someone who's an exceptional cyclist and decent at the other 2, and then same thing with running. So there's no one on our team who is the best at all 3 sports. They have a teammate who's helping make them better every day.
That's pushing them
Yeah.
along. Yeah.
And one of the things we talk about a lot from a culture standpoint is it's hard to do, but I really want each one of them to come to training, and their goal is to make sure that the other guys have the best workout of their life that day. And what they get selfishly in return is 12 other guys that want them to have a great workout. And so culturally, it's really, really helped. And then everyone respects each other because they know that guy's helping make me better today, and then vice versa. So with Project Podium, it's kind of developed over the years. We started in 2018. I was doing this with international athletes. My wife and I had like 4 guys from 4 different countries at one point living in her house.
That must have been an interesting experience.
Yeah, I don't think we would do that again. Probably not the best marriage advice for being a year in marriage and having 4 19-year-olds living in the house.
Just dudes crashing on your
Yeah, but I was on the East Coast at that time, and they were going to school during the school year, and then we would go to Europe, and we would spend all summer in Europe with them and doing the pro circuit over there. And so I had 9 athletes in that group, no Americans. And then when we were over there, I got a call from someone who worked at USA Triathlon, and they were like, "Hey, we want to start this thing called Project Podium, and we basically want to do what you're doing with college age guys, but not for other countries. We want to do it for the US. And I was like, I'm really into what I'm doing. I feel like I'm building something. It's not quite where I want it to be yet. And then I thought about it a little bit more. And then 2 weeks later, flew to Arizona from Germany with my wife because she had never seen Arizona. And she's like, I'm not moving to the desert unless I see it. And I was like telling her, oh, it's great. And I had only been to Arizona in like January, February for training camps.
Yeah.
And we got off the plane in June and it's 110.
Oh, yeah.
It's just unreal.
No,
It's a different kind of heat.
it's crazy. And she looked at me and she's like, where are we? What are we doing?
Yeah.
And we Ubered straight to the pool. Yeah.
Smart.
And I met with the high performance director at USA Triathlon and one of the head coaches at ASU. And then while I'm standing there on the pool deck, Bob Bowman walks in and Michael
cool.
Phelps walks in. And
That's
I was
crazy.
like, all right, you know what? Just show me where to sign. Like,
I think that's cool.
You got me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we started that in 2018. I feel like I got into this saying, oh man, I'm going to kill it. Like, I know how to do this. Very soon into it, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. This is really hard. And then we were in Cuba, and I thought, all right, we're here in Cuba. It's not like known for like, this is where the best triathletes in the world come race. Like, we're gonna smash this. And they all did terrible. And I got on the plane and I was like, I am doing something wrong. It's not their fault. I'm doing something wrong. And when I really reflected, like, my education is in exercise science, and I wasn't really using technology the way that I should. And I basically was guessing when it was coming to writing training plans and like, oh, I think they need to do this. I think they need to do that. And where exercise science has come now and the technology that we have, I don't have to guess. If I test them the right way, it gives me the blueprint of like, here's what we need to improve. Here's how to put it into each athlete's individual training plan. And so I went all in at that point, and I got like literally the next week we flew to a lab. I got everyone, did a bunch of different tests. We did some race simulation, and it was massive insights. And then after that, the wins just started coming, and we just started getting win after win after win.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, selfishly, I want to ask, what made you decide to go with the cardio coach? Why the core cardio coach?
So I worked right out of college. I worked at a triathlon training facility in Richmond, Virginia, and that's what they had. So that was what was in the lab. That's what I knew how to use, and so it was pretty easy to just pick it right back up. You guys over the years have come out with more updated devices and everything. It's even easier now.
Yeah.
So I've probably tested like over 200 individual athletes on a cardio coach, maybe even more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the 2.0 compared to the 1.0 is a pretty major upgrade in terms of software and just ease of use and things like that, I would say.
Yeah.
And the 1.0 is still easy to use, but the 2.0 is like, I love it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So you talked about, right, taking this exercise science background and then being able to create this blueprint for what to do. Will you dive more into that? Like, what does that blueprint look like? What are you looking at? Why is that so useful?
Yeah, so what I've learned over the years is that you've got these coaches who are like, it's almost like anti-science, like, and they're like, like very old school with it.
They're experience-based, like this is what I've done for 30 years.
Right, and that's what it is. And literally that's what it is. It's like, I've done this for 30 years, it's worked, and I love those coaches because they're the ones I'm going to beat. But then you have the flip side, and you have people that just want their athletes to be a lab rat, and they don't get them out into the real world. And then, like, some of their first rides are in the middle of a race because they're always in a lab or something, and it almost becomes they go too far the other direction. So we use this on a regular basis, but I also keep it practical at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit of a blend of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I reached out to two guys when I really wanted an exercise physiologist that understood this to the absolute highest level, who's doing it better than anybody else, who knows more about it, who's the people leading the research on it. And Olaf, which is Christian Blumenfeld's coach, he was super, super big into all this testing. And then another guy named Sebastian Weber. And Sebastian's got something like 6 Tour de France stage wins to his name. He's got 9 Olympic medals as a coach. Coached some of the most legendary cyclists ever. And Olaf told me no, because he's worked for the Norwegian Federation, so he can't help me. And then Sebastian and I started working together several years ago. And he really helped me understand how to take gas exchange data from doing VO2 testing and blood lactate testing and combine the two to give us a bunch of different insights to obviously where an athlete's aerobic capacity, their anaerobic capacity, and then their economy is between all 3 sports. And now we're working on, like my PhD work is on kind of combining all that into one type of test, or understanding the fatigue factor between swim to bike, bike to run. Because I can right now, all the research is based off of individual testing of the sports.
Right.
And then obviously if my athlete has just swam and biked and now they have to run, their threshold's not the same anymore.
Totally. Yeah. The numbers are way different by the time they've done 2 huge workouts.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I really started to dive deeper into this when one of my more recent recruits raced at the World Championships and was out of the water in a great position. And I was like, oh, he's one of the fastest runners in the race. Like, this is great. And then he really struggled on the bike. And then a kid who's like a low 14-minute 5K ran almost 19 minutes off the bike. And what I knew is, like, he just needs more time. He just needs more time training as a triathlete. But what I didn't know is why. Like, physiologically, what is changing throughout all of that. And the more I played around with it, the more I realized that he was so far over threshold coming out of the swim that his race was over, even though he was in the position we would want him to be in, out of the water. Yeah. It took so much out of him that he's going to run 4 minutes slower.
Right. He's already depleted all of his glycogen stores, all of that stuff, and that's tricky with the swim, because you can't replenish during the swim.
Right.
And then catching up is nearly impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now he's won a race this year. Like, he's racing really well, and he just ran 15 flat off the bike in a race. And so it's really trying to understand what is an individual fatigue factor that each athlete has, and where do we truly need to focus our attention in training to make sure, like, I can work on his run all day long, but if he's going to run 4 minutes slower than he should because the swim and bike took so much out of him, then I'm just wasting time.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You know, we talk a lot in the healthcare world about precision medicine, about dialing in how to give the right type of medication and interventions for each person. And this is kind of that same idea of precision exercise programming, where this is dialed in for the individual, versus team programming. You see this in a lot of high schools and things where they give, everybody the same, we're going to run 4 800-meter repeats today.
Right.
And then you've got your freshmen who just barely started running, and your seniors who have been running for several years. And so the same workout is way more workload on these freshmen.
Yeah.
Their time under load, because it took them so much longer to complete it, is like 40% greater than the time under load for the seniors.
Totally.
And that kind of factor, explaining that to coaches, you see them like, oh my gosh, that's why so many of them are getting injured. And
Yeah,
things,
totally.
right?
Yeah.
And so that precision, though, that you're able to give each
Yeah.
athlete with the testing is amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, so like I'll give you a quick example. Is last year going into Paris, I was coaching 2 Paralympic athletes. So I was coaching one guy who he was just missing a hand, and then another one that was legally blind. And but aside from those things, like their bodies function the same as everyone else. So you just train them the same that you would an able-bodied athlete. And Chris Hammer and I have done a presentation on this before, but he's the one missing a hand. He's in the PTS5 category. He had been to, he's older than the demographic I normally recruit in. So he was 35 when he came and joined us, and had already been to 3 games and gotten 4th in the last 2. And 4th is the worst place that you can get in the games. There's no medal for 4th.
Right. You had an
And-
amazing day.
Yeah.
Just missed it.
Right. And so he wanted to make big changes and moved from West Virginia, and he's got a wife and 2 kids, and they moved out to Arizona. And he trained out here with us in Utah as well, and wanted to just go all in and see if he could get a medal. That's all it was. And then a year out from the games, I was like, I don't think you can just win a bronze medal. I think you can win the whole thing. And I've got him, when we've done the testing, at the end of the protocol I use, it's basically an all-out 3-minute effort running on the track. His blood lactate had got to 5 millimoles, so not much at all. And that was just an all-out as hard as he could go. Then I had this athlete that's legally blind. He did the exact same thing. He was at 20 millimoles.
Whoa.
Like through the roof.
Big difference.
So with that athlete, the training looked totally different. And what I want to do is get his VLA max and his anaerobic capacity. We want to lower that as much as we can. And then with Chris, I wanted to do the opposite. We wanted to make him more anaerobic. So going into the games, he's on the track training like a sprinter. He's doing 50s and 100s as hard as he can with lots of rest, trying to get his blood lactate as high as we can get it. And then he dropped over 45 seconds on his 5K.
Wow.
Then went on to win the gold medal in Paris.
Oh.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's really, really cool. And then meanwhile, like obviously at USA Triathlon, like we're analyzing performances. I'm talking with my boss and everything after races to really understand, okay, did this go as planned? Where do we need to improve? And then the other athlete, he's got a guide on the front of his bike. And he kept wanting him to push more power. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Once he goes over threshold, like his blood lactate's through the roof and he's not gonna be able to run. And so they were like, let's try it our way first. Did that, he ran terrible.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, the very next week he raced again in the UK, and I was like, I want him 20 watts under threshold. And then he ran 2.5 minutes faster in that race.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge shave.
Yeah.
2.5 minutes is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating how dialing those things in, and 20 watts, like,
It's not a
doesn't
lot.
seem like that much.
No.
But that amount can be so huge in the end. I mean, if you've done any kind of race, you've had one where you came out a little too hot and then bonked in the second half, and seeing those splits later is really frustrating. It's like, oh,
Yeah, totally.
it's so close. I was having such a good day. And sometimes it is. It's 20
Right.
watts that makes the difference.
Right.
That's cool.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm really trying to do is get them fit enough to swim and bike is as easy as it possibly can be. Like you get some of these guys after a pro race that are like posting their wattage and like, oh, I was like 400 and something watts, and like you see someone do that and you're like, that's not a brag, man. Like you biked really dumb. Like you should have been tucked in and like keep your wattage as low as you can. and because it's all about who can run the fastest once you get there.
Yeah, I've heard you can sabotage it with the swim.
Yeah,
You can lose it on the bike, but you win it in the run.
totally.
Is that?
It's true.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and non-draft they even say like it's like bike for show, run for the dough.
Yeah,
Is the saying.
I love it. I like it. Yeah, that's fun. Working with triathletes is such a fun thing. I had one who, she was awesome. She ran faster in 2024, yeah, than she did in 2013.
Wow.
Because we started working together and like she was 65.
Yeah.
And she ran a faster race at 65 than she did at, it would have been what, 52 or 53 or something.
Yeah.
So, a decade later, and she ran a faster race then at Kona. So this is Ironman World Championships, and she took 6th in her age division and stuff. And that was just so fun to see those differences just by tweaking her training a little bit. And this is a person with tons of experience. She's been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
And to take somebody and see those changes. So, when you take those athletes and you are able to make, huge, 2.5 minutes off their times and stuff, that's massive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's really fun to see once it starts to click. But it doesn't happen by chance. And that's what's awesome is like I've got this historic data from the testing that we've done, and VO2 max is still the ultimate metric. Like the higher you get your VO2 max, there's a very good chance you're going to perform better.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is like a lot of people talk about FTP, and it's like, and everyone's like, oh, it's this hour-long effort. Like Hunter Allen is like one of the godfathers of it.
Yeah.
And even if you talk to Hunter, he'll tell you that he came up with this concept 30 years ago and had no idea people were going to just run with it.
Yeah.
He's like, the 5-minute, 20-minute power test that everyone is still doing today has so many flaws with it.
Sure.
And someone's threshold, depending on where their anaerobic capacity is, could be 45 minutes or it could be an hour and a half. And it all just depends on the unique physiology, and we can test that. And so with the testing that we're doing, it's really trying to understand how we're getting to that athlete's threshold, which is a combination of their VO2 max and their VLA max. And then specifically with swimming and running, how economical are they? I've got guys with VO2 maxes in the upper 80s, but their running economy is terrible. And so we've got to do things in the weight room. It's far more than just like, oh, we got to take video of you running and then try to perfect this. And as you guys from a physical therapy background, like you can tell someone this is what your form needs to look like, but if they don't have like the flexibility to actually get into the position they need to, then they're going to get hurt just by trying to tell them, you need to lift your knees up higher. You need to,
Well, and even just with endurance sports, you're talking about thousands and thousands of repetitions.
Yeah.
So if you change their form, like, a greater knee drive or things like that, all of a sudden you just change their form for, 10,000 repetitions per leg for that day.
Totally.
And so now if they're putting different stress, different load on there. So yeah, you have to be careful with some of those things, how you do it. We were actually just on Monday at a place called the Gait Lab, looking at this like super intricate way of analyzing gait. And this is this person's whole job. And she's like, yeah, I actually don't tweak people's running form that much versus working on more economy and things. Because when she tweaks it too drastically, they train into a different injury or different problem. And so really fascinating.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit, I think some people might not be familiar with like VLA max.
Yeah.
So dive into a little bit more about that. Why is that important?
How do you define it and measure it?
Yeah. So really it's basically the rate at which you're producing lactate, which has a really big impact on how you're going to perform. So if you're not going to be able to run really fast at 9 millimoles of lactate. It's just impossible. And so there's a lot of different things that will kind of show us, and fueling strategies, especially in longer distance races. If someone has a higher VLA max, then they're going to be just eating through carbs. And so we've got to make sure that they're refueling a lot. So with using the combination of VO2 max and VLA max, I'm also getting fueling strategies. Here's how many carbs per hour you need to make sure that you're taking in. Whether you're one of my guys trying to win an Olympic medal and we're out on a bike ride and they're just sitting at zone 2, like they can sit there for 4 hours, but some of them need to be taking over 100 grams of carbs per hour in order to just sit at an even zone 2.
Yeah.
And then other people that have a really low VLA max, they could get away with not eating anything because they're just purely fat oxidation, and they're in a decent spot. But with VLA max, like a lot of people look at lactate as a bad thing, and lactate is a huge fuel source. And it's like, I like to think of it like the Fast and Furious movies, where like it's the NOS that you press the NOS button and it's like gives you that punch.
Right.
And the key to that though is like the faster you go, the more that you're using the gas tank, and you got to replenish the gas or you're just going to bonk. And so it can be a dangerous thing too, that if you're going over threshold too many times and you're going too many punches, then eventually your body's not going to be able to keep up and clear that lactate out. And when it clears lactate, it's using it as fuel for the anaerobic system.
Yeah.
And then, so in draft legal triathlon, it's all like it's punch after punch after punch on the bike.
Yeah.
People are trying to break away. People are covering attacks. The courses are really dynamic and round corners and stuff. You got to get out of the saddle.
And speeding up and
right. And I'm looking at some of my guys' bike files, and they're going over 800 watts 20 times in a race. And so if you don't have the fitness to actually handle that, and then your body can't clear that before you get on the run, then you're done.
Yeah.
But what we're also looking at is what wattage on the bike are you most efficient at clearing lactate? And so all of my guys know that number, and we use it as their recovery and workouts as well. So if you think, I'm just going to sit on the back of the bike pack and go 100 watts, you won't clear lactate nearly as fast as if you're going 200 watts for most of them. And so I can see that correlation between, at 200, 210 watts for somebody, they're clearing around 1 millimole per minute. Where if they're at 100 watts, it may be half of that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so in the middle of like something simple, like you're doing 3 by 10 minutes on the bike at threshold or something, then the rest interval I'll prescribe will be their lactate clearance zone. And so to help them clear lactate so they can go in the next one and get the most that they can out of it.
Yeah.
And then in races, when the packs all come together sometimes, it just slows way down. And I don't want them to just sit in sometimes. It's like, get out in the wind a little bit or put yourself near the front, and let's keep you close to 200 watts so that you're actually clearing that, and that you can run faster.
Yeah, because you're not adding to the lactate when you're back in the pack, but you're also not clearing what you built up at the last turn or the last hill or things like that.
Or even in the swim.
Yeah,
and
so, still not clearing that.
Right. So one of my guys, when we really started using this and he started understanding the numbers, he was in doing one of his first Olympic distance triathlons, which is a 40K bike, 10K run. And the bike was really easy, but he's like, I just sat on the front and kept myself at my lactate clearance wattage. And he ran 10K at a faster pace than he had ever run a 5K off the bike.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's awesome. Yeah, understanding that, that's so important. I've never quite considered it that way.
Yeah.
That lactate.
Well, I think when it's all boiled down to is that fitness is metabolism. The more you understand your individual metabolism, then the fitter that you can get, because you know where to focus your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you looking at substrate utilization during the testing then quite a bit, like the fat and carbohydrate burn rates and things like that?
Yeah, because that gives me key information to their fueling strategy, especially as we get into an Olympic distance race. Then the individual, some may need 4 gels on the bike, some may only need 2. Some, like they're not using enough carbs. So it's like, okay, we got to train your body to use more glycogen as fuel, because I don't want you to be primarily efficient on the fat side of things, because you're a short course, punchy athlete. Meanwhile, I also coach athletes outside of my role with USA Triathlon, and I've been joking with my wife. I've got this weird niche of coaching 20-year-old dudes and 54-year-old women. And so I have a bunch of these age group women in their 50s.
Yeah.
And this stuff is crucial to them being able to go to Kona and be able to be efficient. And then not only are we using that, but a lot of this changes when you throw heat into the mix too.
Oh, big time. And Kona
is
brutal.
just all about that.
Yeah, when you go through that lava flow,
right,
it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it's just, I think one of the difficulties, unlike the outside of sport looking in, is maybe, everyone just needs the same type of training, right? Just make sure that they have a really big aerobic capacity, a decent anaerobic capacity, and whatever. But really, depending on the demands of the sport, it changes. And so the training should match your goals, right?
Totally.
Doing, triathlon is going to be different than just pure running, and different distances are going to require different fueling strategies, are going to require different capacities.
Totally.
So how do you help your athletes understand, this is not a one size fits all? Two people that are training for even the same event might need to work on different things, right?
Right.
We were talking beforehand, it's like, this person actually, we don't want their anaerobic capacity super huge because of this.
Yeah.
This person, we actually need to increase their anaerobic capacity.
Right.
What kind of goes into those decisions?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is while everyone is very individual, they kind of get into just a couple different categories. And so we'll go to the track and I'll have 12 athletes and we may have 3 different workouts going on. But what that means is that each person still has people that they can train with and be a teammate. But it's almost like we put them in these different buckets of we've got to, it's less about we need to expand your aerobic capacity, because you want to do that with everyone. You want VO2 max to be as high as it possibly can be. And then when it's more like, what do I want to do with their anaerobic capacity? Do we need to make that more robust, or are you already way too anaerobic? Because if their VLA max again is too high, and then you are going too many punches in the middle of a race, then they won't run well off of that either, because they can't eat enough during the race in order to keep up with it.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Especially on those longer events. When you're doing 3 different events in a row, you're so depleted, because any one of those would leave somebody in need of major recovery. And so to do 3 in a row is pretty wild.
Totally. Yeah, and then you throw legal and ethical supplementation into the mix. And beta alanine is a big supplement that even the USOPC has literature on it on their website, and the IOC does. And then we're also, a lot of them are taking the Martin bicarb before races too, so that we can increase buffering capacity and just make sure that it bumps their threshold up just even a little bit more.
Yeah, I've even seen, have you seen the patches and stuff like that? Yeah, it's interesting what people are coming up with.
Yeah.
Saw somebody just covered in them. I don't know that's, anyway.
Well, so, as you talked about before, you've got this unique perspective, right? You've got the science background, you've got the coaching background, but then, right, you're trying to get athletes on the podium. And so it's the razor's edge, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
between getting, silver, gold, or between podiuming
Totally.
and not podiuming. So like, how do you take some of those new things, right? Oh, here's this new and upcoming supplement, or here's this, new thing to test, or here's this new thing. How do you take those and use them wisely with people?
How do you vet that?
Yeah, how do you vet that process?
I do it on myself first. So yeah, I also get a lot of people that will reach out because we put this on social media, and like it's starting to become just a little bit of like what people are kind of. I've got a reputation of using this, and so then I'll get people that will reach out, and it'll be like, we have this continuous lactate monitor, but we analyze it with sweat, and it's not with actual lactate. And they want my athletes to use it, and it's like, I'm going to use it first and see if it works or not. And none of them have. So far,
none of them have been very good.
Have been very good.
Yeah.
But it's also because every single training session matters.
Yeah.
And I can't waste a training session. So I can't make it be something that is just an experiment necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to stay active myself, and it's fun, like kind of using some of this on myself too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you train? Do you compete at all?
So, I don't really have time to train for a triathlon.
It's so time expensive. I was going to be blown away if you did. So.
Yeah, but I run every day,
Yeah.
and still ride my bike quite a bit. And I like to run with the athletes, and then I ran a marathon earlier this year, and I'll do another one later on this year. Yeah.
So run enough for marathon.
Yeah.
But not a triathlon is just the amount of time that takes to really, probably especially for you to like be able to do well enough that you're like that's
Enjoying
worth doing.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's tricky. So
I did a couple Ironmans without getting in the pool once. And I was just like, I'm not going to do this to myself anymore.
Yeah, that's tricky. I always tell that to patients or clients that I'm working with. It's like, yeah, we can get you there, but it's what kind of day do you want to have?
Totally.
And if you're not happy with the day, then it's not really worth doing, right?
Right, totally.
Yeah. So we were talking beforehand about early versus late sport specialization.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a big question for athletes themselves, but also parents, right?
Yeah.
What should we do?
Yeah.
What's your take on that early specialization versus late specialization in athletes, and how does that play especially into triathlon?
Yeah, so a really good friend of mine, Josiah Middaugh, he's kind of a legend in the sport. He had a 20+ year pro triathlon career. He was in the off-road side of the sport and really successful, but he's got an exercise science background as well, and he coaches. And he and I did a presentation on this at USA Triathlon's Endurance Exchange because I coached 2 of his sons. So his 2 sons are on Project Podium, and they're phenomenal. They're really, really good athletes, and they did not specialize in this early. I bought them their first road bikes. Like they obviously were just on the trails and stuff like that just for fun on mountain bikes and stuff, but they kind of dabbled in a bunch of different things. And there's literature that kind of proves both points. Like, yeah, early specialization works and late specialization works. But I think one of the things that it misses is how happy an athlete is when they're doing it as well. Mm-hmm. And if you've been a swimmer since age 3 and you're on these competitive teams and you're swimming 60K a week, and by the time you get to college or even just post-college, like the last thing these people want to do is get back in a pool. Some of them will never get in a pool again.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's the people that I feel like get into it just a little bit later that you see their careers kind of really take off.
Yeah.
And you've got some more popular sport type examples. You've got like the Tim Tebow example, or even Michael Jordan, where they're doing baseball, football, basketball, even as a pro. Mm-hmm. And what I think is that if you specialize in it too early, there's too many gaps in development. whether that's just from even a fitness standpoint or just what it gives you from an agility. Like you have to still be really athletic to ride a bike, like really fast.
Oh yeah.
And what I've seen is like someone who's just been an endurance athlete their whole life. Some of them really struggle with the bike handling skills because they just haven't learned the agility, and they don't have like just frankly they don't have that athletic ability to be able to corner. Like they don't have the mental whereabouts to like take a corner as fast as you should and know how to move your body back and forth. So yes, late specialization I think is key. And I want my kids personally to just go into as many sports as they can. Yeah. And triathlon is the perfect example of it because we don't specialize in one sport. We're doing 3.
It's 3 at once, which is awesome.
And then we also have them in the weight room doing like legit lifts. Like depending on what we're trying to do, again, from a VLA max standpoint, they may be lifting really heavy if you want their anaerobic capacity to go up, or they may be lifting light and doing more reps if you don't want to increase that. But still, they got to learn how to do, like I have them do Olympic lifts. Like they're learning how to squat, they're learning how to do power cleans and all that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. We could keep talking forever. You've got to catch a flight, so we'll have to end. But thanks so much for just sharing everything with us. We could spend so much more time diving into more stuff, but
for sure,
what you're doing is so cool, and we appreciate the time that you took with us today. If people want to follow you, follow Project Podium, learn more about these things, how can they see that?
Yeah, we've got a full-time photographer, videographer that follows us around the world. So all of pretty much Instagram's the go-to, and then we also have some fun YouTube stuff of like 20-minute long. Here's what a 50-hour travel day to China looks like, and things like that on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, with gear and everything.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot.
Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks a lot for having me, and it's cool. I mean, I think I started using a cardio coach almost 18 years ago now.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it's like, it's cool to be sitting here and kind of talking through this with you guys.
Yeah, that is fun.
Love it. Well, again, thanks for joining us.
Yep.
As always, if you want more content like this, remember to like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. This podcast is a production of Core Medical Technologies. Ready to take your metabolic testing to the next level? Visit core.com to learn more about purchasing our metabolic test equipment.